Hello there, friends. Welcome back to another episode of Generation Tech. My name is Alan. With the finale of the Skeleton Crew coming next week, I have a lot of questions to ask. Spoilers ahead. As Jod, the kids, their parents face off outside of the Old Republic vault on Adatin, what is going to happen? I mean, is Darth Plagueis going to return somehow? Maybe, Palpatine's assassination attempt actually failed and he used his IGBC banking connections to find a cushy spot as the supervisor of Adatin's Old Republic Mint? Probably not. Very unlikely for that to happen. But what is likely is we'll finally get to see Jod Na Nawood unleash his full power as a Force user, whatever that might mean. They obviously teased his use of a lightsaber now twice at the end of an episode. I really do hope we get to see just how powerful of a Force user he is. What makes him so interesting is, as of now, Jod is one of the few non-aligned Force users we've seen in Star Wars history. Now, while scrolling through the comment section, I saw this one comment from Joe. I have had a personal theory that Jod is actually Petro from the Clone Wars, who was with Ahsoka and other younglings who took on Hondo, and then later helped Hondo against Grievous. I think maybe there's a chance that when Order 66 went down, he went to Hondo for help, and he's a pirate now because of it. This is why I encourage people to always comment in our videos, because even if you think you're gonna comment something stupid or make a prediction that might not be true, I think it's always worth dropping something down here, because I will always try to read as many comments as possible, because I've figured out a long time ago that there are hundreds of thousands of you guys out there, you Star Wars fans, and your collective knowledge and insights are always going to far outweigh me. So I'm always humbled when you guys share me a theory like this, especially one as good as this one. Now, to be clear, I don't actually think they're going to be making such a deep connection between the Clone Wars and the Skeleton Crew. The show isn't exactly a Dave Filoni story, although I'm sure he's a producer or credited as one. At the same time, while it seems unlikely that they would bring Petro back in a live-action TV show, there are just way too many signs that point to Petro as a possible candidate for Jod Na Nawood. And so I'm going to say it's a 10 or 20% probability that this is actually going to be a real thing, but it's definitely interesting to discuss. So as mentioned before, Jod is most likely around the same age as Jude Law, who is around 52 years. Now, since he is a Hollywood leading man, I would say that he looks good enough to be in his late 30s. If this show takes place in 9 ABY, that means that by the time Order 66 is carried out in 22 BBY, Jod would have been anywhere from 10 to 20 years old. That would actually put him in the same age group as other individuals like Cal Kestis, Caleb Doom, aka Kanan Jarrus, and of course Petro. We don't actually have Petro's last name, it's just Petro. Maybe his, parents left him in a basket in front of the Jedi Temple because they didn't love him.
The truth is, I'm just like you, okay? I'm lost. I'm alone.
You see, that's exactly how someone who was left in front of the Jedi Temple as a baby in a basket would view themselves. Now, what do we know about Petro? Well, he's a part of a youngling clan, and he has dark hair like Jod and green eyes like Jod. He's also from the world of Corellia, which is famous for their sewer rats, scoundrels, and hustlers. I wouldn't be surprised if a good percentage of pirates are either from Corellia directly or descendants of people who originally were from Corellia. Corellia is one of the oldest human planets in the galaxy, and it was long known for its independent spirit. It always maintained a close relationship with Coruscant, but at the same time was a self-governed entity. Corellia would become one of the most important industrial manufacturing worlds in the early Old Republic. Their specialty was building starships, everything ranging from small one-seater erasers or snub fighters to massive battleships or generational sleeper ships. Thanks to their planet's industrial might, Corellians were known as entrepreneurs and also eager explorers of the galaxy. They're amongst the first spaceship to venture out from the core regions and establish colonies all over the peripherals of the galaxy. But due to unchecked industrial expansion on their homeworld, eventually the planet became so polluted and just gross that, everyone who could afford it just left. There are a lot of things about Jod that remind me of other Corellians we have met in Star Wars, like Han Solo, Wench Antilles, or Toro Calican. These are scrappy people. They definitely aren't rich or bougie. They generally aren't seen as educated in a traditional way, with degrees and certificates. Most of the Corellians that we see are self-taught and street smart. They kind of have to be to make it off of their planet to the wider galaxy. The truth is there are a lot of Corellians that aren't smart, that aren't quick on their feet, that aren't ambitious, and most of them, unfortunately, are still stuck on Corellia. Corellians are also, as we mentioned, famous for being mercenary when it comes to who they pledge their allegiance to. Most Corellians have had it tough growing up, so they just look out for themselves mostly. I mean, it took a really long time for Han Solo to finally see himself as a rebel, who always considered those who joined causes as suckers. The same thing could be said about Toro Calican, who was just a backstabbing, self-serving moron. Too much ambition and a lack of skill is a dangerous combination. And Petro, as a youngling, actually exhibited this combination of characteristics. As a youngling, he was probably one of the most powerful in his class, or at least he acted that way, and he sort of looked down on his peers to a certain extent. During the gathering ceremony, where every Padawan has to find their kyber crystal in the frigid Jedi caves of Valum, Petro wasn't really scared about the challenge at all.
Well, I don't know about you lot, but enough with the chatter. I'm going to be the first to get my crystal and get out of here.
Petro, wait. Maybe we should stay together?
No, thank you. You're on your own.
And of course, like with many other Corellians, his overconfidence almost becomes his downfall here.
Looks like I'm the first back with my crystal. That wasn't so hard.
And the others?
Who knows? I didn't want to gloat since I found mine so quickly.
You see, the gathering is designed specifically to bring to surface every Jedi's weakness.
Show us.
A crystal you have found. Water you have brought.
You know, these traits that Petro has are not necessarily rare in the wider Jedi general population. It's not that rare, definitely, in the wider population. The hope is wisdom will eventually temper Petro's harsher edges, and ceremonies like this are really meant to make Petro aware of his shortcomings. After seeing his, quote, kyber crystal melt away in his hands, Petro actually returns back into the cave, determined to find his actual kyber crystal, and you have to give him this. He is arrogant, he is overconfident, but he definitely doesn't give up. So his characteristics, his character type are all kind of geared towards one direction, and that is the attack direction, for better or worse. In his second journey into the cave, he meets another youngling who has become trapped behind an ice wall.
Katuni?
Petro, I'm trapped. Can you help me get out?
I can't. I still haven't found my crystal.
Petro, you can't leave me.
I have to go.
Another mark against Petro's character. His overconfidence led to him wasting his time, and now that he's pressed for time and taking the task seriously, he makes the biggest mistake of all, leaving another youngling, Katuni, behind in a potentially life-threatening situation. Yeah, remember, these kids have no idea that this is a controlled test and that they aren't actually in danger, and so if Petro actually leaves Katuni in this situation, I mean, in the field, that could mean death. So this is pretty bad here. But Petro is still young at this point, and that means there's time for redemption. There's time for him to turn around and change. And he does that. He ends up going back, and he saves Katuni. And as a result, he also finds his kyber crystal. Now, Petro passed the test here, and that's why he wins. But it doesn't necessarily mean he can't backslide. And if you take a look at someone like Jod Na Nawood, he's clearly not just an evil person. He knows how to be good. He knows how to mimic what it's like to be good. So it's not that big of a stretch to say that Petro's past could be Jod Na Nawood's past. Yes, Jod is the version of Petro that forgets this lesson of selflessness. He's the version of Petro that watches out for himself only. We tend to think in life that the things that happen to us deeply affect our personality and who we are as people, but the truth is there's also a lot of baked-in characteristics that we're all born with. Someone like Petro, someone like Jod Na Nawood, might have just been born selfish. And while Jedi training and wisdom can ultimately help you see why being selfish is a liability and can lead to bad outcomes, it's ultimately going to be hard to try to throw off some of these natural tendencies. And I say this coming from a place where of understanding, because I consider myself a pretty self-absorbed person. It's something that I deal with on a daily basis, something I try to keep in check. But yeah, it's not easy. I understand logically why it's not good to be this way, but it's a struggle every day, to try and make yourself not such a shit. There's another part of Petro that I see in Jod Na Nawood, and that's the young boy's confidence and charisma. Now, later on during their gathering mission, after almost blowing himself up assembling his lightsaber, a bunch of pirates led by Hondo Ohnaka raid their ship, and Petro, who's never one to let an important lesson escape him, hatches a very dangerous and daring plan with that same lightsaber that almost blew him up.
You sure you can handle it?
Everybody get down!
Is it the smartest move? Probably not, but Petro is quick on his feet here, and what he does is ultimately successful. He breaks contact with these pirates. I can see Jod Na Nawood also doing something just like this. I mean, how many times does he talk his way out of a situation? That's basically what he's done this entire TV show. And Petro's not just quick-witted, he also knows how to be charismatic and rally the troops. He understands that aspect of leadership.
You could have killed him.
Look, we can keep running, or we can stand and fight and show these pirates we're not afraid.
The kid's not afraid to fight back against people who want to harm him. And, it's kind of rare at this age for, I think, a kid to be willing to kill someone, but I feel like Petro is completely cool with that, which might showcase some of his more natural dark side tendencies that Jod clearly has. I mean, it reminds me of the time he shot Brutus when he was trapped in that giant claw, or it reminds me of that time Jod flooded that room with acid and killed all of those pirates. All things considered, Petro, like Jod, has qualities to make him a leader. He's confident, charismatic, a bit ruthless, and able to make quick decisions. And so when Ahsoka Tano gets captured by the pirates, it's Petro who takes lead of the group and launches a rescue mission.
You stay with the ship.
And who put you in charge?
We're going to need to make a quick escape, and you were the only one that had flight simulator training at the temple.
Oh, seeing as you put it like that.
Just like Jod, Petro here is good at telling people what they want to hear. You can say that he's just very good at reading people, or he's manipulating them. Either way, it's a skill that he has. And it's a powerful skill that can help the Jedi really aid people better, or allow a Sith to completely exploit weaker individuals around them and turn them into thralls. The most interesting part of this theory that was mentioned and brought up by Joe is the fact that during the rescue mission, the kids, including Petro, end up teaming up with Hondo Ohnaka and his pirates when General Grievous enters the picture. Petro and Hondo actually end up fighting alongside each other, and I wonder if Petro during this time made some connections with his pirate compatriots. He definitely isn't the only Jedi to have spent time with pirates, but again, his physical description really fits here. His personality fits. It kind of makes sense that a youngling who fought alongside pirates would also escape to pirates during Order 66. One has to wonder just what kind of crazy ordeal did Petro have to go through during Order 66 to turn into someone like Jod? Knowing just how difficult Cal Kestis and Caleb Doom's experience was, I can only imagine how horrible Petro's experience would have been. As a youngling, most likely without a master, he would have been at the temple during Order 66, where arguably the most devastating and violent attack against the Jedi occurred, simply because so many low-skilled Jedi, including the elderly and children, had to essentially fight against the Grand Army of the Republic. This also gives someone like Petro the opportunity to escape. Like, as we mentioned before, in the cave, he can be ruthless if he needs to be. He can leave people behind, and honestly, when you're in the Jedi Temple during Order 66, you want the slow ones, the weak ones, to kind of take all the blaster fire so you can run away. I know it's messed up to say, but that's what you gotta do to survive, and I think Petro is a survivor. Jod clearly is. Maybe Jod is what happens to a Jedi when you're just on the run for 30 years, constantly trying to survive. That's what happens to you. You just become this disillusioned scoundrel who only wants gold. And this would not be unique. I mean, many other Jedi, including Caleb Doom, started out this way. Caleb was working with a criminal known as Janus Kashmir. Ahsoka was working with the Martell sisters, some of the worst smugglers the galaxy had ever seen. Yeah, so there's definitely a connection here. This is a really great theory. Thanks again, Joe, for sharing that one with us. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys think. Are we going to even learn about Jod Na Nawood's past here? Maybe they won't tell us anything. Maybe the surprise is who the supervisor is. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit that notification button down below so you don't miss out on the rest of our awesome content. As usual, my name is Alan, reminding you that my allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy. I'll see you next time.